Yes, guys, we were discussing about the guidelines, or we can say that the methodologies, models, and techniques which are necessary in order to uh, develop a system. So we will discuss in detail about all these methodologies. What is waterfall model? What is agile development model? What is DevOps? What is rapid application development? In our next session in very detail, and we have a dedicated unit for this. Okay, so let's move to our next topic, which is the system development approaches. Basically, we have two approaches. We have basically two approaches. First one is the structured approach. And the second one is the object-oriented approach. So, structure approach, basically, if if I give a little bit information about the structured approach, so a structured approach basically includes the basic flow of a particular system. The program flow will be known as the program. What is the program flow of our system will be known as the structured. Will be known as the basically the flow of our. Now, what is the structured flow? We can say that the structured flow basically includes all those decision points, all those repetitive statements. We can say that all those loops, as well as if there is not any decision points in our system, if there is not any loops in our system, if the sequence or if the flow of that particular system is instruction to instruction, like top down flow of our program. So all those sequence of flow basically includes in this structured approach. There is not any object oriented approach, and we cannot do an object in our program. All right, so what is the meaning of object? We are going to discuss in this approach. So before going to the object oriented approach, we have two principles. Which we have to follow in the structured approach. So the first principle is all the modules can have two principles. First principle is loosely coupled. Second principle is highly cohesive. I'm not saying that these two principles are required at the same time. It is not necessary. Because any one of them is followed by the developer. So we are going to discuss what is the loosely coupled. So loosely coupled program, or we can say that loosely coupled structure approach. Says that each and every module is independent. To each other. So if I take the example, if we have three modules in our program, so there is not any interaction between these three modules. These are independent. These are not dependent to each other. So these module 1, module 2, module 3, these not dependent to each other. These both are independent in loosely coupled structured approach. Now, if I talk about highly cohesive structured principle is basically this diagram. Highly cohesive, because for input, module number 2 is dependent on module number 1, and for input, module number 3 is dependent on module number 2. So this principle, highly cohesive, is basically says that each and every module is dependent on another module, and where loosely coupled structured approach principle says that each and every module is independent to each other. There is not any interaction between these modules. Hello. Yes, so we were discussing about the principles of the structured approach, where we have two principles: loosely coupled and the highly cohesive principle of a structured approach. So we have discussed this so far. So let's move to our next approach, which is object-oriented approach. So object-oriented approach says that each and every data. So basically, structured approach follows follow structured approach's main motive is to make or programs code very simple. Its principle is not focuses this principle, the structured approach is not focuses on the data basically. Just so object oriented approach basically follows mainly object oriented approach mainly follows uh, the data, mainly follows what to do about data basically. So we store all data in the form of data is stored in the form of objects. So or structured approach basically follows the structured of a particular basically follows the structure. It means motive is to make or program code is structured. We have basically unstructured programs also in very ago, but second in object oriented approach our main motive is not the flow of our program, not the flow of our program. The main motive is how we can store data very securely, how we can store our data very securely. So data is stored in the form of objects. Now we have actually various properties of object oriented approach. We can say that the properties are this: inheritance, abstraction is basically the property which include the security in this approach, like object oriented approach. So we have inheritance, we have abstraction, we have encapsulation. So if you guys all are aware about the Java or C++, you have surely heard about these terms, right? So encapsulation, if I give the proper example, so encapsulation, if there is any existence of the classes, there comes the concept of encapsulation. So what is the definition of encapsulation? The binding of a unit, the binding of instructions in a particular unit. So what class do basically? Class basically involves the various functions and various data. So with the help of classes only, we can achieve the concept of encapsulation. So encapsulation, we proved that with the help of classes, because classes can only store the data and functions, the data members and the data methods, right, which we call. And abstraction, basically abstraction process says that the of data of one object is not dependent on the data of another object. It means there is not any interaction between two objects, right? Until and unless we have established the communication with the help of message passing. All right. So we have the third concept is inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but the capability of reusability of code, right? The capability of our program to reuse the previously written code. So reuse the previously written code practically, if I talk about. So for example, if I have class A, where I have written a function, where I have written not a single function, where I have written the 4 functions. So now if I have class number B, now in class B also I wanted to use those functions which I have written in A. So what I do, I will inherit class A in class B so that I can reuse the previously written code. Reuse the previously written code in class number A. Alright, so inheritance comes in that context where we have to reuse our previously written code. So here class A is the class B's parent, right? Or class B is the child of class A. We can say that technically, right? So this is all about the approaches, system development approaches. We have structured approach, we have object oriented approach in this. So next topic is classification of system. Our next topic is classification of system. So we have discussed about what is system, what are system components, what are the characteristics of a particular system, what are various methodologies, models and techniques, what is the meaning of basically methodologies, models and techniques, what are the two system development approaches, what are the two principles which we follow in a structured approach. So next topic, let's move to our next topic, which is the classification of system. Now what is the meaning of classification, right? What is the meaning of classification? So classification का मतलब मेरा सिर्फ ये है कि अगर मैं इसका सिंपल एग्जांपल देके बताऊं, so if you have a bag, right? If you have a bag and you have 3 types of balls. You have a white ball, black ball and red ball. Okay, now the quantity, if I talk about, you have two quantities of white ball, two quantities of red ball, and two quantities of black ball. If you put all these six balls in a particular in a single bag, so that is not a classification. Those balls are not classified. Now, if I want to classify, what I will do, I will make three groups. I will take two white balls from that bag, and I will put two white balls into another bag. I will put two black balls from that particular bag, and I will put those two black balls in another bag. So I have classified the balls. मैंने क्या करा, मैंने सेम तरीके की balls को classify कर दिया. तो वही हम यहाँ पर करेंगे, सेम तरीके के सिस्टम्स का हम एक ग्रुप बना देंगे. क्लासिफिकेशन बेसिकली उसको बोलूंगा, तो सेम तरीके के सिस्टम्स का ग्रुप बनाना, उसको मैं बोलूंगा क्लासिफिकेशन, राइट. So we have actually classified the systems in these four systems. So the physical system and the abstract system. So physical system, if I talk about those systems which are actually exist, those are those systems which are physically exist or which are tangible in nature. We can say that the system which we can touch. All those systems are known as the physical system. The example is just your mobile phone, your laptop, your calculator, etc., your embedded system, just like oven, etc. And what is the meaning of abstract system? Abstract system is basically those systems which are intangible in nature, which does not exist physically, but they are actually there, right? They are actually there. Now, if I talk about the example of abstract systems, basically the abstract system basically include all those flow structure, basically all those data flow diagrams. Just a second. Right. So abstract system basically includes this data flow diagrams, entity relationship diagram, structure diagram. These are the system, but these are not physically exist, but these are abstracted. These are conceptually exist, but are not physically exist, right? So this is all about the physical and abstract system. Physically, these are tangible in nature. These are intangible in nature. All right. And what is the meaning of open and closed system? We have further divided our system into two types: open systems and closed system. Open systems are basically those systems which can adapt to its environment. Means those systems which can dynamically change itself, according to the environment need, So all those systems are basically comes under the category of open systems, right? So open systems, अगर मैं simple definition बोलूँ open system की, the system that interact with their environment will be known as the open system, right? So interact with their environment means they adapt the changes in their environment. Okay, that is, these systems are dynamic in nature. Okay, now closed systems, actually those systems which do not interact with their environment, means do not interact with their environment means just they are static in nature. They cannot be dynamic. They are not dynamic in nature, right? They cannot adapt the changes in the environment. So we have discussed about what is the meaning of open system, what is the meaning of closed systems. Oh, just a second, guys. Yeah. So we have discussed about what is the meaning of open system, what is the meaning of closed system, what is physical system, what is abstract system. So these systems basically comes under the category of classification of systems. Classification of system, we have done we have divided our system into these four types. Okay, so our next topic is very important. Actually, we have a single unit which includes only this topic, right? Or the last unit number 5, we have a single chapter in that. That means that unit number 5 independently uh, have a single chapter known as information system. A single chapter uh, have the weightage of 20 marks, right? So if we cover that this particular chapter, we actually properly, if we cover that this particular chapter properly, we can score 20 out of 20 in this particular unit, right? So let's talk about information system. So before going to the information system, let's talk about the information. Let's talk about the information. So what is the information? Information is basically nothing but raw data, right? Okay, so types of information. What is the meaning of information? Information is basically uh, the raw data, which we can say that, like for example, information is basically, if I have a question like how many students are there in our class. So information is basically the names, the total number of the names like if I give the simple answer, so there are actually 5 students in our class. So this 5 is basically the data. And what is the information? Information is basically the whole data about that particular question, right? So whole data includes basically name, phone number, address, marks. All right, so all those information, those data will be known as the information, and the data which we want, that is the actual data. So there is a difference between the information and the data. All right, so if I talk about the types of information, we have 3 types of information. First is the strategic information, second one is the managerial information, and the third one is the operational information, right? So strategic information is the information basically needed by the topmost management. All right, the topmost management, it is needed by the top level of management, right? We have basically divided, there is a hierarchy of management, right? So the top level, middle level, and the low level. So the strategic information is basically for the top level management. Strategic information is needed by the top level management for making long-term decisions, okay. Now if I talk about the managerial information, so this type of information is basically required by the middle level management. Okay, this type of information is required by the middle level management for making short term decisions. So अगर मेरे को लाइक लॉन्ग टर्म डिसीजंस के ऊपर जाना है तो मेरे को स्ट्रेटेजिक इंफॉर्मेशन को गैदर करना होगा. स्ट्रेटेजिक इंफॉर्मेशन, ऑल दोज इंफॉर्मेशन व्हिच इज एक्चुअली रिक्वायर्ड टू मेक अ पर्टिकुलर स्ट्रेटेजी. ओके, जस्ट लाइक अगर मेरा बिजनेस चल रहा है तो मेरे को लास्ट ईयर के फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट्स चाहिए, और मैं उन अकाउंट्स को, फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट्स को देख के ये पता लगाऊंगा कि वेदर माय ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज सफरिंग फ्रॉम लॉसेस, और how much profit, what is the turnover of my organization. So अगर मेरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को लॉस हो रहा है तो वो पर्टिकुलर इंफॉर्मेशन आएगी स्ट्रेटेजिक इंफॉर्मेशन के अंदर. और स्ट्रेटेजी क्या होगी, उस पर्टिकुलर इंफॉर्मेशन के थ्रू, उस पर्टिकुलर इंफॉर्मेशन का यूज करके जो मैं डिसीजन लूंगा, सो दैट डिसीजन विल बी नोन एज द स्ट्रेटेजी. Okay, decision, or we can say that the plan which we prepare with the help of this information will be known as the strategy, right? Now the managerial information is basically that information which is required in order to make the short-term plans. Short-term plans, just like quarterly plans, we can say that the checkpoints which we have to achieve, right? The checkpoints which we have to achieve, like for example, after 7 days we have to achieve that particular goal. After next 7 days we have to achieve that particular goal. So all those information which is actually required to make the short-term plans will be known as the management information. Okay, now the operational information is required by the low level management, or we can say that the workers. Okay, workers basically day to day for day to day informations, for day to day information, right? To take day to day to take day to day decisions, to take day to day decisions, we actually require to take day-to-day information, we actually require this type of operational information, right? So basically we have these three types of information. Okay, strategic information for top level management, managerial information for middle level management, and the operational information for low level management. Okay, so these are the this is all about the information, this is all about the types of information. Now we have to move the information system, right? So what is the information system? Information system is basically required by the management. Information system is basically required by the management in order to make reports, in order to collect the past data, in order to process, in order to make analysis on the past data. We can say that in order to make decisions, in order to make decisions, we require information system. Information systems are currently being used by many organization in real world also, in order to make reports. So the information systems basically provide the results of these information system basically provide the result of these information, the strategic information, managerial information, and the operational information. So all those systems which works on this information will be known as the information system, right? So if I talk about the definition, information system is an integrated set of components. It is an integrated set of component. Now what is the meaning of integrated? Integrated means आपस में जुड़े हुए, all right, आपस में जुड़े हुए, like dependent. Okay, so information system is an integrated set of components for collecting, storing, processing data, for providing information, knowledge, and digital products. Okay, so the work of information system is just to collect, store, process data, and to provide reports to the management. Okay, so as we have discussed that business firms and other organizations rely on the information system to carry out and manage their operation. How? Because the business firms are dependent on the information system, because these systems are only systems which provide the reports to them, which provides the analysis that you are having loss, you have to take some decisions. Okay, so all those information is basically processed by the information system. These information system interact with their customers data, suppliers data, and compete in the marketplace. Yeah, so this is about the information system. So we can write about it, right? Okay, we have to just if we are having a 12-mark question in our examination, so we have to write about this. First we have to write about what is information, then we have to write about the type of information, then after writing the types of information, then we have to start what is the information system currently, where this information system is used, what is the inputs required. So input is basically this, strategic information, managerial information, and operational information. Okay, so now we have further classified these information system. मैंने क्या करा, मैंने just इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम के काम के अकॉर्डिंग उनको डिवाइड कर दिया, मैंने उनको फर्दर डिवाइड कर दिया. तो हमारे पास में टाइप्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम, वी हैव 3 टाइप्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम: ट्रांजैक्शन प्रोसेसिंग इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम, मैनेजमेंट प्रोसेसिंग इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम, and decision support information systems. So we have basically these 3 types of information systems. So if I talk about the transaction processing system, so transaction processing systems is an information processing system for business transactions only. So मैंने क्लासिफाई करा कि जैसे कि हमने लास्ट इसकी डेफिनेशन में पढ़ा था कि ट्रांजैक्शन सिस्टम क्या होता है, ये हमको रिपोर्ट्स प्रोवाइड कराते हैं पास्ट डेटा के ऊपर, और उस डेटा को प्रोसेस करते हैं, कलेक्ट करते हैं और स्टोर करते हैं. सो इसके काम के अकॉर्डिंग मैंने इसको डिवाइड कर दिया. तो ऑल दोज इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम व्हिच आर बेसिकली रिस्पांसिबल फॉर कलेक्टिंग डेटा, स्टोरिंग डेटा, एंड प्रोसेसिंग डेटा अबाउट all the business transaction, all those information system will be known as transaction processing system, because These information systems are dealing with the transactions of our organization. So it involves the collection, modification, and processing. Like we have discussed this, right? Collection means collecting information from the source. Okay, modification means storing, processing. Okay, so this basically involves the characteristics of transaction processing system, performance, reliability, and consistency. Okay, we have done other management information system. So this is the name of the last chapter of our book, which is management processing system, management processing information system, which is known as management information system, MIS also sometimes. Okay, so we will discuss in detail, but here we will discuss about the introduction of this, right? So these system assist lower level management in problem solving, as well as what is it? It is a computerized database of financial information organized and programmed in such a way that it can produces regular reports. It can produces regular reports on operation for every level. It basically, this management processing system basically provides the reports. This type of system basically provides reports. Transaction processing system basically provides reports based on the transaction, on the business transaction. This provide reports on the financial position of a particular company. Okay, the main purpose of the management information system is to provide feedback, is to provide manager feedback, right, about their own performance. As we have discussed before, that these systems are the only system which provide reports based on the past performance. Okay, based on the past performance. So this kind of system is basically needed to all the levels, like to the low level management, also to the high level management, or to the top level management, also to the middle level management also. Okay, this is about the management processing system. We will discuss in detail, like what further we have also various processing systems of management. How it generates the report, what kind of input we have to provide to the management processing system. So all of those kinds of things we will discuss in our last chapter. Okay, and what is the meaning of decision support system? Further, we have decision support system. So decision support system is basically also an information system, because it is a part of it. Now decision support system, basically what it do, it provides judgments. Judgments means it provides the predictions. Okay, decisions based on the past data. Here we are providing the reports. So based on those reports, we have to take a decision, right? We have to take a decision based on those reports. Like if my company is having losses, so we have to take some decision, so that in the near future I can recover all my losses. So what kind of decisions we have to take, this decision support system will tell me. Okay, this will provide determination, this will provide judgment, this will provide the prediction, right? This will provide the prediction and will tell us what these decisions you have to take in order to recover from losses. If I take example, right, and courses of action in our business example. So our decision support system is a computerized system that gathers, analyzes data, synthesizes it to produce comprehensive information reports. Okay, so this is all about the information processing system. We have discussed about what is information, what are the types of information, what are information systems, right? We have three kinds of information system: transaction processing system, TPS, management processing system, management information system, we can say that MIS, decision support system, we can say that DSS. Okay, now moving towards our next topic, which is the nature of processing. So nature of processing basically involve these three processing techniques. So first we have the batch system. Okay, so these systems are basically those systems which works on batch, means it processes all the data related to a particular work parallelly. Okay, सो कहने का मतलब सिर्फ इतना सा है कि ये बैच प्रोसेसिंग सिस्टम क्या करेगी, ये सेम टाइप के डेटा को एक साथ में प्रोसेस कर देंगे। लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मेरे पास में 3 तरीके की प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज है, ठीक है, और मेरे पास 4 टास्क है, तो फॉर एग्जांपल बैच प्रोसेसिंग सिस्टम क्या करेंगे, मेरे में जावा में रिटर्न सारे के सारे प्रोग्राम्स को एक साथ चला देंगे, सी प्लस प्लस में रिटर्न सारे के सारे प्रोग्राम्स को एक साथ चला देंगे। आई एम जस्ट टेकिंग द एग्जांपल, ओके। और सी में रिटर्न सारे प्रोग्राम्स को एक साथ चला देंगे। देयर इज नॉट एनी दैट पहले जावा चला फिर स्विच करके वो सी प्लस प्लस पे आया, फिर सी प्लस प्लस से स्विच करके वो सी पे गया, एंड देन सी से स्विच करके वो वापस से जावा पे गया। ऐसा नहीं होगा, बिकॉज देयर इज अ टाइमिंग गैप इन स्विचिंग बिटवीन द प्रोग्राम्स, राइट। सो यहाँ पर क्या होगा, हम बैच भेजेंगे डायरेक्टली सीधा, ओके। ऑनलाइन सिस्टम क्या होगा, ऑनलाइन सिस्टम एंड देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन ऑनलाइन सिस्टम एंड रियल टाइम सिस्टम। रियल टाइम सिस्टम की अगर मैं बात करूं तो रियल टाइम सिस्टम्स आर दोस सिस्टम्स which process data when it is generated, just when it is generated. So it processes data at the time of at the time of its origin, or at the time of its origin or its generation, or when it is generated, right. So online systems, now if I talk, if real time systems are those systems which processes data hand to hand. It does not wait for the data, it does not wait for switching, it just whenever it receives data, it hand to hand process it and provide result hand to hand, right, without waiting or without any dependency on another program. And if I talk about the online systems, so online system basically those system which basically dependent on some information. Okay, so dependent on some information, or we can say that some information, इसका मतलब सिर्फ इतना सा है कि लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल ऑनलाइन सिस्टम को अगर पहले से एक डेटा मिला हुआ है, 4 डेटा अगर पहले से इसके पास में रैम में रखे हुए हैं, और 5वां डेटा अगर मेरे पास में आया, तो उस डेटा को वेट करना होगा, या फिर उस प्रोग्राम को वेट करना होगा अनटिल एंड अनलेस जितने भी मेरे 4 प्रोग्राम्स हैं वो खत्म नहीं हो जाते, राइट। और ऑनलाइन प्रोग्राम्स का भी सिंपल सा इसमें एक चीज कॉमन है ऑनलाइन सिस्टम और रियल टाइम सिस्टम्स के अंदर, कि whenever the data is produces, at the same time it will provide the result to us. Okay, at the same time it will provide the result to us. Real time systems are much more faster than the online systems. Just there is only difference in the reliability, in the efficienciness, in the effectiveness of the results. Okay, online system there is just difference of this timeliness. We have the difference of timeliness, just efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, so we have discussed about the nature of processing, batch processing, online systems and real time systems. Okay, next topic is the processing location. We have just 2 more topics left, and these are very small topics, not necessary to take a dedicated class for this. So we have one is processing location and another one is degree of integration. Okay, so processing location is basically the place where our data is processed, right. So there is multiple places. Like if I talk about the distributed environment, so there can be multiple places, right. There can be you can process your data here also, you can process your data here also, okay. A single data, right. If I talk about a single data, if you have this amount of data, so a part of it process on this, and a part of this data process on this, and these modules will provide the result back to the system, and they will be integrated there also. So okay, so processing location is the place where our data is processed. It can be it can be different also, it can be the same. Degree of integration is basically nothing but degree of integration is just the degree of integration is basically the number of systems which are processing our data. Just this is all about the degree of integration. The number of systems processing our data will be known as the degree of integration. Just So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Yeah, thank you. This is all about this chapter. We will meet very soon to complete our further next chapter. So our next chapter is system development lifecycle. So stay tuned.